Good morning, everyone. My name is Leisha Jackson from FMSystems. I want to thank you all for attending the FM BIM webinar today. Today's webinar is a joint presentation by FMSystems and our certified business partner, USCAD. Just a few things before we get started. Because we have so many people on the line today, the lines will be muted. But if you should have any questions, please enter them in the panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will answer them at the end. Now I will turn it over to Sarah Wilkerson, the Strategic Account Manager for USCAD.
Thanks, Lisa. Yes, so I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today and taking the time. Just a quick introduction. As Lisa said, I'm the Strategic Account Manager here at USCAD, and I've been in the architecture, engineering, and construction world for close to 7 years now. Most recently, my primary objective at USCAD is to specifically work with our owner and operator clients, and as that relates to building information modeling within their organization. So that's not only for new buildings and new projects, but for their existing buildings as well. So you can go ahead and click the next slide, Brian. So to give you a quick overview of USCAD, just so you guys understand who we are, we're an Autodesk partner, and we're also an FMSystems partner. We were established in 1998, and very proud that we are the largest Autodesk partner in the Western U.S. We have 7 offices nationwide, and we were previously known as LACAD. So in case you guys have heard that around, we became USCAD when we acquired the Honolulu and Las Vegas offices. You can click the next slide. So our core business focus is the support of building information modeling workflow within the AEC community. And we have training and implementation services of the Autodesk and FMSystems products. We have open enrollment training classes in each of our offices. We also create dedicated and custom curriculums to facilitate on-site training for customers' locations. We have project-based mentoring, and then we also have other roles that we support, like a BIM coordinator role for projects that are doing integrated project delivery with building information modeling. So this January, we became the newest FMSystems partner, and we are really excited about this partnership because of the tight integration FMSystems has with Revit. And Brian Haynes from FMSystems is going to talk a little bit more about who FMSystems is and FM BIM, which is the product you're going to see today. But before we turn it over to Brian Haynes, I'm going to turn it over to our solutions consultant, Brian Smith, to talk a little bit more about our technical services and our production services at USCAD. Brian?
Great. Yep. Thanks. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are today. And as Sarah mentioned, I'm Smith, and I'm a solutions consultant at USCAD. And I wanted to take a moment to first off mention that a solutions consultant is someone that helps you put the technology pieces together and evaluating hardware solutions or software solutions within your organization. USCAD's professional services division has specialized departments focused in infrastructure or civil engineering solution services, building solutions, working with architects and engineering firms, and now facilities management solutions, working with organizations like Northrop Grumman, who's using the FM Interact product. Now we are introducing FM BIM, we'll be learning more about today. The last thing I wanted to point out is we also have a full production staff to assist in capturing as-built conditions. That is in 2D drawings or as-built BIM using Revit. And our production staff can also provide production services with groups that maybe they don't have the bandwidth or the skill set for BIM deliverables, and we do that with our BIM task force. So those are the things that I wanted to focus on today. If you have any questions about any of these things, be sure to get with Sarah, and she'll get those questions answered for you. So now on to our main topic, FM BIM.
So thank you. This is Brian Haynes. I'm the Director of Marketing at FMSystems, and I'm going to be giving the bulk of the presentation today. I'm going to start the presentation off giving you just kind of a really quick overview of who FMSystems is and what solutions we provide in the market. Then I'm going to talk to you for a bit about why this is such an amazing opportunity for AEC professionals right now to provide BIM lifecycle services to your customers. And I'm going to finish that off with a brief demonstration of our product. It's an integration between Revit and a cloud-based product that we have called FM BIM. So let me just go ahead and get started. And so a little bit about FMSystems. We've actually been providing software solutions to facilities professionals since 1984. In 2010, we introduced our first offering for the AEC community, which was an integration between Revit, our building lifecycle product called FM Interact. Created a fairly new product called FM BIM, which is targeted towards AEC professionals. It allows you to collect asset and space information during projects, during construction, and then have that information available to owners as that building goes into commissioning and then eventually operations. A proven track record including helping our customers reduce occupancy costs by 50%, move spend reduction by 83%. We've got very strong numbers on annual productivity, enterprise productivity savings, and we are a company that really prides ourselves in the really terrific relationships that we have with our customers. So a little bit of a background of why we think that this is such an amazing opportunity. Recently participated in and seen the presentation by Autodesk. Just to give you a little bit of background about us, we're actually the premier vendor. We are the premier partner for Autodesk for BIM and FM. We're currently the only one, and work very closely with Autodesk. Before coming to FMSystems a year ago, I spent 8 years as an industry marketing manager at Autodesk. Before that, I spent quite a bit of time in the architecture profession and also as on a facilities management organization at the University of Arizona. So I've been at this for quite a while and have been able to see this absolute explosion of the use of BIM, particularly in the AEC market. So in 2012, the most recent McGraw-Hill construction report, they now say that BIM adoption amongst AEC professionals is 71%. What we find really interesting about that is that for the first time, contractors have really moved up and have actually overtaken architecture and engineering firms for the adoption of BIM. But really, what we think we're seeing is the saturation. At this point, we don't really believe that BIM adoption is probably going to continue to increase at that existing meteoric rate, simply because the majority of the firms that have adopted it in AEC, they've either adopted it or they're not going to adopt it, or perhaps they're using it on some projects, but not all projects. Really, where we're seeing an opportunity moving forward is for AEC professionals to begin to provide opportunities or BIM lifecycle opportunities to owners who also see the value of BIM but don't quite know how to get there. So as you can see, there's a tremendous number of projects that all of you guys have worked on. You've provided BIM models, primarily working in Revit, to building owners, and a tremendous number of buildings have been constructed or in construction, in design right now, using a BIM-based process. The problem is your customers, the people who are paying for the project, the building owners, have this massive wave of building information models coming to them, and they don't know what to do with them. They see the value of a BIM-based approach. They've invested in it during designing construction, and they'd like to leverage that throughout the building life cycle. US CAD has customers such as Northrop Grumman seen that and are currently adopting it. And I'd say that they're an early adopter. We're really seeing this as a tremendous opportunity to actually help your customers through the transition from a traditional CAD-based approach to facilities management to a BIM-based lifecycle approach. So all of us have seen the McClaney diagram that talks about BIM-driven efficiency. Everyone understands that there are huge efficiencies lost between design, cost, construct, and operate when a BIM-based process is not utilized. Every time information is handed off, it needs to be recreated. There's inaccuracies. And BIM was really designed to really smooth out that process and give critical information that your customers need to manage your buildings and your assets. Really what we're seeing is that BIM has provided a tremendous amount of efficiency, but it's never going to be perfect. For us to say that it's a perfect process is just probably never going to happen. Always going to be slight inaccuracies. But AEC has figured out the majority of those problems in the process of getting projects, BIM-based design and construction process, and realized in the market. However, once you get done construction and you go into operation, for the most part, that inefficiency still exists. And we see a product like BIM is filling that gap and essentially bringing that line of inefficiency up in a way that really cleans this process up and provides a BIM-based lifecycle approach to owners to provide additional benefit. What we're really shooting for is this. Like I said, is a lofty goal. We like to say that perfection is the enemy of the good, and so basically, if you can get that process very close to being a very strong BIM-based lifecycle approach and get started now, you're going to see huge benefits in the short run. So what do owners really need? So currently, as most of you know who are AEC professionals, during the design and construction process, it's very graphics intensive. In other words, the BIM-based portion of that is really focused on graphics and the attribution of data in that model. Over time, what we see is that owners really understand this process, but I'll be completely honest with you. If you think that you can really sort of turn a Revit model over to them, even give them a 3D view of the model, and they're going to spin around the model and get information from that model pool that's meaningful to them, they're not ready for that. What they really need is BIM data more than they need the graphics. They need to be able to do things like plan, manage, and operate their facilities more efficiently. And if you think of the average project life cycle, maybe 18 months, the building life cycle is about 25 years. And they want to be able to leverage that information in a based life cycle approach. You have an opportunity to create customer relationships if you're providing capabilities, modeling services, or even these types of projects to them like FM BIM. You have the ability to be able to create stronger relationships that could lead you to greater and longer-term relationships with building owners. One of the issues that we've found is what we call the square peg and the round hole problem, and that is at the end of a construction project, even at the end of design, often a model will be turned over to the owner with little thought as to what the owner actually needs from the model. So we really look at that as a tremendous amount of information being lost or information not given to the owner that's really meaningful. FM BIM allows you to essentially create that model and create that data in a way that's going to be really meaningful to the owners once you turn that building over. So there's a lot of BIM data out there. Often when you give an owner a set of construction documents as well as a model, this is sort of what they get. They spend a tremendous amount of time. As a matter of fact, I work in the owner world, and I understand what these look like. You get this, and you spend a lot of time trying to figure out, what you need, what was actually built, and how to leverage this information throughout the life cycle. So they're really looking for something like this, and this is what FM helps you to provide the data owners need the way they need it in a format that makes sense to them. So this is really essentially taking models, slicing those models, and providing facility views that have model-driven data behind those views throughout the building life cycle. And that's what really FM BIM will provide. There's a lot of data out there, and really making that work for the building owners is what we're targeting. So how does it help owners? So getting and keeping space and maintenance software running is really time-consuming and costly. Traditionally, there have been software packages out there called FM packages, and it was really taking products like AutoCAD and serving up drawings for owners and allowing them to up some basic principles around data management associated with drawings. Over time, we have what FMSystems provides is IWMS, or Integrated Workplace Management Solutions. These are cloud-based enterprise solutions that allow you to provide building lifecycle information to an owner for things like move management, asset management, project management, portfolio management, lease administration, a tremendous number of things that they care about throughout the building lifecycle. This also allows, if you're using a BIM-based approach, it completely eliminates the need to polyline space on CAD drawings. Makes it very easy for you to enter building product data and documents such as warranty information, serial numbers, etc. During design and construction, you're actually adding that information, or the owner is adding that information through a web-based interface. I'm going to show you this in just a bit once I get into the live demo. And it allows you to create an inventory of building equipment very easily, and allows the sharing of the building data with the AEC team and the owner all at one time to a collaborative environment that uses a secure login. So we really like to look at this as sort of the digital handover, or the digital owner's manual that's given to the owner while the project is perhaps under construction and then into operation, and it eliminates the need for binders and CDs and USB thumb drives and FTP drives. It really eliminates that information, because during this process, during projects, you're really formatting that information. It's all in the digital information, which includes data and documents and drawings in the model. To eliminate redundant data entry, it certainly provides better data quality because it is searchable and reportable. It allows your building owners, the people you're building for and designing for, to begin space and maintenance planning pre-occupancy. And I can tell you that they're seeing a huge amount of value in that last bullet point. So also, what this allows you to do during design and construction, you're going to put a tremendous amount of effort into a BIM model. Hopefully is going to prevent the death of a lot of really good BIM models out there, because I can tell you, once a model is turned over to a building owner and things start taking off, they start occupying that building, they start doing moves, perhaps rearranging walls and doing things, it's easy for the quality of a model to degrade very quickly if it's not being maintained. This allows you an interface that makes it easier and to provide as maintained information. We call that as maintained and not as built, because as built turns to something else if it's not maintained over just a short period of time after that building becomes operational. It allows you to use the model for future projects. So let's say you've got a relationship with an owner, you've built a very large building for them, and suddenly that a year down the road they want to do a renovation, they want to do an addition. Opportunity for you to get back in there and get repeat project work increases. We know that this is a true fact. If they've got that tight relationship with you, you're probably going to be their choice when it comes to future projects. This also will allow you to leverage your BIM-based skills and resources and infrastructure to building owners. To talk about this in a little bit, but I can tell you that I've basically presented at several conferences in the past year talking to building owners. They love this stuff, and they have no BIM expertise on staff, and they need you. So how does BIM help AEC firms? By allowing you to extend what your capabilities are into building owners. It allows you to differentiate your firm and win more business, that repeat business I was talking about, maintain closer contact and win existing business from existing clients. It allows you to create new service offerings. Every month on Revit Community Online, I actually write a article that's focused towards really helping AEC professionals understand what building owners are thinking and how you can help them design and then implement a BIM-based lifecycle approach to managing their facilities. And I suggest you check that out. It allows you to help them, walk them through the process of defining BIM deliverable guidelines, data coordination and management, and then the ongoing maintenance of models, which they typically don't have expertise or anybody on staff that can do that. So some of the capabilities of FM BIM, this is really where we get into the meat of what we provide, the product, the cloud-based product called FM BIM. So FM BIM is a cloud-based lifecycle BIM product. It's got an Autodesk Revit add-in. It's essentially a plug-in into Revit that allows you to integrate with, and I'm going to show you the connecting to a model and provide a real-time bi-directional integration between a Revit model, cloud-based FM BIM database. So the population of data throughout the design and construction process. Our AEC, one of our reseller partners in the UK, called this witchcraft when they first saw it. It's basically it's really quite cool. It allows you to provide very simple views to building owners, allow them to enter information, let's say about assets or about spaces. That information automatically flows into the Revit model. And if you're making changes in the Revit model, you're moving walls, etc., you can automatically flow that information back down to the building owner. It's really quite cool. It can be easy. key capabilities. You can use Revit to create a detailed inventory of space and assets, then edit the space data in Revit and in the browser. It doesn't matter. It synchronizes and goes bidirectionally. You can synchronize and manage asset and building equipment data. You can manage building and asset documents. Owners are really getting excited about plan maintenance for building equipment before they ever take occupancy. And then you can share Revit data and graphics over the web with the building owner or any other project team member, and they do not need to have Revit skills. This is a little bit of an eye chart, but it also shows you that FMSystems basically has two specific software products that we provide. We have FM BIM, which you're looking at on the left-hand side, which is a cloud-based product that we provide to AEC professionals, allow you to work very closely with building owners during design and construction to gather information on space and facility management. If that building goes live, the owner can migrate into FM Interact. And I'll be completely honest, FM Interact is simply a version of FM BIM that's a lot more capabilities. So for us, it's really quite easy to flip them from an FM BIM customer during design and construction to an FM Interact customer during operations, which provides a whole bunch of different information, including a sustainability module, management, real estate and portfolio management, maintenance management, all of those things that they care about during the building life cycle. So what this means, you're actually looking at, this is just a screenshot of a building modeled in Revit. So a building modeled in Revit can be used for space management and maintenance planning in FM BIM. Now you're looking at, it looks like Revit, but it's not really Revit. It's our cloud-based product being accessed through a standard web browser, and it allows the building owner or team members to essentially very quickly and easily navigate through information about their buildings, and you can actually update if you've got specific security privileges. I want you to be confident that this has a very tight security model integrated with it, so you can give permissions, or they can give permissions to who's allowed to see what buildings with floors and what type of data. It also provides a very strong interface for doing reporting. So this helps owners do things such as this. They get really excited when they see this because they can plan for what it's going to cost to manage this building once it becomes operational. And they can plan for the next 25 years if they want to, if all of that data about all of the equipment, assets, and space is included into the database. You can start doing things such as planning for, predicting, and managing maintenance requirements, space and occupancy requirements before the building ever is occupied. How it works. This allows service providers, especially AEC professionals, to maintain the complex model and your own firewall. So that's what really is what's left of this line right here. The model can continue to be maintained in your own environment. It does not have to be shipped out to the owner. It doesn't have to be placed on a FTP server. We've got a web service and a tool that plugs into Revit that allows you to make live directional data connection. Facility data, which is typically housed, we can host this in our cloud-based environment in our data facility, and allows owners to access this information in ways that are meaningful to them. It's not a Revit model. It's appropriate views of Revit information, including floor plans, space management data, maintenance information, and allows them to get a real handle on their real estate and portfolio planning. It does provide a bidirectional real-time integration. The way it works is like this. Up here at the top, we've got a plug-in into Revit. You're looking at the sole toolbar that gets installed into Revit. Once that that toolbar is installed and you've got the model, got an FM BIM installation on our server set up, the model is connected to either FM Interact or FM BIM via a real-time secure database connection. Very simple. Requires a username and password as well as the location of where that database is. Revit model geometry is maintained in Revit and published to FM Interact as necessary by authorized users. So typically what will happen is that you get to a point where you feel comfortable that the building's probably not going to change a whole lot, the design is complete, construction is happening, and you can start providing these really appropriate views to building owners right away during design and construction. As changes happen, no problem. You can update the geometry in Revit and republish that information directly back out to FM BIM. So the way this works is it's real-time and bidirectional, and facilities information such as asset data can be maintained in FM Interact and FM BIM, and can automatically be synchronized back to the Revit model. Revit obviously maintains its own database, but Revit is not really great at maintaining terabytes of information. Our product is. You may maintain 10 attributes worth of information for an asset or a space within Revit. The owner may be interested in 150 or 200 attributes, which may include really deep information on asset warranties, serial numbers, all kinds of stuff that is not appropriate to put into the Revit model. That information can be linked and maintained in FM BIM and flow back to the Revit model as needed. You can also set what is the key data source or the golden source of data. Is it Revit or is it FM BIM, and you've got control of that. So really, the next piece I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through some very high-level demonstrations. Me do a full demonstration of FM BIM would take more time than we have today. I want to give you a flavor for what we have, basically talk you through some of the capabilities that you'll be able to see. So the first thing that you're going to do, you'll notice up here at the top, whoops, I'm busy clicking here, I want to start this. You'll notice up here at the top that what I've got is a highlighted toolbar that allows me to be able to begin the process of registering a model between Revit and our cloud-based product called FM BIM. The very first thing we do is put the Revit model to the database where this is being maintained, and we can test really easily to make sure that that connection has been made. The next thing we do is register the model. This is essentially taking this in the project browser, taking a specific facility plan, and connecting it to, I'm going to actually try to pause this for a second because I want to talk this through. See if I can pause it. There we go. Basically allows you to connect this, essentially this building and this floor record or a series of records in the FM BIM database. The thing we can do is provide different AEC members the ability to provide access to different models. And I don't want to get too confusing around this, but imagine it this way. The architect is providing the architectural model, the MEP is providing maybe an MEP model, maybe a fire protection model, and all of those can be maintained separately by different service providers. Then each one of them can maintain their own model and connect that to the FM BIM database. So if you can think of multiple models being connected to FM BIM, that is completely possible within our product. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on here, and that's really showing that we're really pointing which discipline this model is being used for. Our demonstration today is using the architectural model, and here's where we're showing the secure username and password login. And we make that connection, it's going to pop up a little dialog box, and it's going to tell me, yep, my Revit model is live and is connected between Revit and our FM BIM database. So that's the end of that portion. The next thing we're going to do is synchronize the space within the Revit model, and this is utilizing the intelligence of the model so you don't have to polyline, or owners don't have to polyline their drawings. With a simple connection, you can automatically move all of the space information from Revit inside with the FM BIM database, and that connection will stay maintained. When moving a wall, square footage can change with it, etc. So as the AEC professional, if you're maintaining that model, things change, walls get moved, conference rooms get moved around. You can resynchronize those changes with the database very quickly. Next, I'm going to demonstrate synchronizing space data contained within the Revit model with the FM BIM database that's maintained in the cloud. So there are two main menu items in our toolbar that deal with spaces, which include the ability to query and synchronize spatial information in the Revit model with the FM database. Seeing us actually query one of those spaces right now and get that data. The first item allows you to users to query and access both room and space data in the model, as well as convert the rooms to spaces in the FM BIM database. Room boundaries in Revit and open office environments can cause challenges for facility managers who consider cubicles and open office areas on a floor plan of spaces. So FM BIM Revit plugin handles that by allowing users to quickly and easily convert those rooms to spaces, which is maintained, which is the method that FM BIM uses to track space. I'm going to pause again here a little bit because I'm getting a little bit behind. So let's pause that. Back slightly. Right, so what you're looking at here, second menu selection up here at the top. Sorry, it keeps going on me. I'm going to try to pause this. All right, I think I'm paused. The second menu selection allows you to map connections between Revit room and space attributes with the attributes maintained in the FM BIM database. So mapping the attributes between Revit and FM BIM occur as an initial part of connecting the model. So you really need to do this once as part of the initial model setup. You may call something, for instance, in Revit, you may call it one thing, but the owner refers to it as something else. It's really part of that BIM deliverable guidelines that we talked about earlier. So mapping what the Revit area property, for instance, in this example, to the space inventory properties in the FM BIM database. There's a tool that allows you to make that, essentially make that connection and line those up. And then you can do this as often as necessary if there's any future modifications to the data fields that your customer wants to track. So really what I want you to see is that you set this up once and then it's really easy to maintain over time. Once the data has been mapped, once the data has been mapped, we can simply synchronize the spatial information in the model with the data in the FM BIM database. The information is now connected and ready for use. With data mapping, this typically happens once as part of connecting your model. Then can happen as appropriate over time if things change. So now what we've done is we've really gone through quickly and easily. We've connected the model and we've synchronized all the space. The next thing we're going to do is synchronize the assets. This is the ability to map the parameters of the families in the database, choose the data you want to map, maybe not all of it, maybe just some of it. It's really what your customer, your building owner is interested to see. And you can choose the authoritative source. In other words, is that information or that data maintained in Revit, or is it going to be maintained in FM BIM? So we're just going to run through a quick demonstration. This is shortly showing how we're configuring our assets. The very first thing we're going to do is show how we're going to map those asset properties to underlying database fields in the FM BIM database. This assures that when information is changed in either Revit or in FM BIM, that it stays synchronized and lined up. So we're seeing things such as data fields being mapped for mechanical equipment, for instance, a boiler, and then the property is mapped. And the last thing that we need to do is simply synchronize those assets, and what that does is provides that time live bi-directional connection between the assets in the Revit model and the underlying database. Really the last thing we need to do to get this rolling is to publish the floor plans to a web format for viewing in the browser. And what this provides is a capability for building owners to access those floor plans, query the information. Do not need to have Revit skills. And you can provide the 3D view. If you want to do that, if you want them to have an opportunity to look at that model, navigate the model, etc., completely fine and appropriate. We don't see a lot of users a lot of owners taking advantage of that right now. So the next thing we're doing is just really quickly showing that same building I was looking at. We're going to publish out the drawings, and as needed, as before, if things change, simply go back in. Let's say you have to worry that if you're doing a renovation, every time you make a change, it's automatically being synchronized to the owner. It doesn't work that way. It'll allow you to pick and choose when you want that to happen. If that gets republished, then whoever's got access through a username and password to the FM BIM cloud-based product can immediately log in and see that. This is really logging in right after this has been published. Not only can they look at it, but look what they can do. They can click on spaces, they can click on assets, look at that information that's coming directly from Revit, and they can also run reports. And we've got a report builder built in here that allows them to do really super powerful things, such as those maintenance reports that I was showing you earlier. And this report right here is going to basically get up a viewer that allows them to look at navigate around through the 3D model if you do want to provide that capability to them. Now we're navigating the 3D model. The owner can do this simple, very lightweight, uses a built-in 3D viewer to be able to do that right in the browser interface. So I'm going to skip to the next one. So once that building is published, we've synchronized our assets, we've synchronized our space, we've synchronized our plans. The next thing you want to do is provide that real-time bi-directional lifecycle view for the building owner. So this is going to allow them to view via a browser interface all of this information anytime a modification occurs. It's going to allow your building owner to edit information via the browser interface. and it does provide that bi-directional link. I want to be really clear here that this is real-time information moving back and forth. At this point, now that we've got this all synchronized and connected, somebody changes a room designation from office to cubicle, or you tear down a couple of walls and you turn 3 offices into a conference room, the information's live, and you can immediately have it available back and forth between FMBIM and Revit. So this is showing the ability to be able to edit information. We're in Revit and we're going in and we're looking at a particular boiler, for example, data set. We clicked on that and we're looking at the boiler properties within Revit. We're going to actually flip over really quickly into FMBIM, and we're going to click on that same boiler. We're going to access all of that data flowing right out of Revit. See, once we go back there, what we're going to do in Revit now is we're going to change the name of this manufacturer. We're going to change it from Acme Boilers to FMSystems Boilers, and we're simply going to say OK. We're really quickly flip back into FMBIM. You're going to see that that information is going to be real-time and accessible by the building owner. So they're going to click on that now and look. They click on that boiler. Right there it is. The manufacturer is now FMSystems Boilers. And we can actually go down and look at a building equipment view, a list of all of the boilers in our portfolio. You're going to see in the sample data set, we've only got one conveniently. It's really easy to locate. And, what our demo is going to show now is that as information is being entered, we're going to save these changes, and the changes are real-time, bi-directionally updated back into Revit. So when we back in, the Revit user is going to click on that, and you're going to see in the comments now, it says this item really needs to be replaced. Keep in mind that's live and bidirectional, that's real, and that information flows back and forth between the person who's using Revit as well as the person who is accessing this information through our cloud interface. The same goes for being able to edit information for the area. In this example, we're taking the room name, we're changing it, where you're using built-in space standards that the owner has defined, made those accessible to Revit, and we're going to go and automatically update this information. An example, we're going to show the ability to be able to also assign employees that are in the employee database and have that reflected back into the Revit model as well. So really, keeping in mind, this is very fast, this is very easy, applying appropriate views. Revit professionals stay in Revit. The non-Revit professional, the building owner, occupier, stay in an environment that they feel comfortable in, and access via the cloud, via the web, through a standard web browser interface. And you can do that now with FMBIM, which is the product that I just showed you. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, because I want to make sure that I leave time for questions, is some of the things that you can do right now that you can provide to owners or you can talk to building owners about that will, obviously, we're more than willing to work with you, work with our excellent partner, US CAD, in working with you and doing a full-blown demonstration of FMBIM. What I did today was really just quickly running through, showing basic capabilities of the product. There's certainly more to it that we can show. But really, if you've got owners out there and you think that this is something that they would love to see, there's a few things that you can do right now to help them start to come about the process of moving to lifecycle BIM. One of those is working with them to document their standards. And this is really important because it helps you to understand what's important to them. I think a lot of times you can assume that what you think is important during design and construction is probably going to be important to the owner, or maybe the way they classify things. I had a building once when I was working at the University of Arizona. We got a building that was, the room numbers were done on a sort of an arbitrary grid, A to B, and on the X axis, and 1 to whatever on the Y axis, and that's how the room numbers were numbered during design. That meant nothing to our classification, the way we room numbered. When we got those CAD plans, essentially what we had to do, this was before we had a Revit model, we had to go through and renumber all of those rooms. Really eliminate that if you're working very closely with the owner to understand what their standards are, both their space management and their asset management standards, and get those documented. It's done lots of times. There's some really excellent examples out there. In a university, one of our customers has a really fantastic deliverable guideline for their university. We've also got an excellent one through the VA, the GSA. State has a terrific one. And obviously the Building Smart Alliance, COBE, we do have COBE reports built into FM BIM. So if you've got a COBE deliverable that you need to provide to a building owner, it's as simple as producing a report in FM BIM, and you can provide that. So after those BIM deliverable guidelines are developed, FM BIM can help you create them, populate them, enforce them, and deliver them. One is know your customers. So understanding your customer's current workflow capabilities. They've got existing solutions in place, or perhaps they're thinking about it and they can't quite get their arms wrapped around it, their brains wrapped around it. You can help them understand that. You can provide your expertise, and it's really important for you to work to understand their requirements and then show them how you can help. Are you ready to move to the BIM? And if so, can you provide appropriate training? Can you provide, and I'm not talking about training on how to use Revit models, but training on how to document their standards and how to get them up and running very quickly. The last is to create the BIM templates within your Revit models. It is, you can create these, especially if you're going to have a customer that maybe has multiple buildings. Usable BIM templates, if you're providing those to building owners, the chances are the next time they do a project, they're going to come back to you because you've helped them document those standards and you've got templates already created. So we really think that this is going to help you keep some repeat business. So that's the end of my portion. I really wanted to thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to provide a high-level overview of the benefits that BIM can provide to you and allow you to provide the capabilities to your building owners